Every single year, I find an excuse to play the Mario Galaxy games because these games are f***ing awesome. That tradition continues this year, although to change it up, I'm gonna play them both at the exact same time. The goal is to start the games, finish the games, and also collect the stars within a few seconds of each other. If I die in either of the games in the middle of a level, I have to restart at the checkpoint or beginning. I'm gonna get 60 stars in Galaxy 1 and 70 in Galaxy 2 since that's required. The last 10 in Galaxy 2 I'll do solo because this challenge is already a gauntlet as it is. Now, the only way I could get this challenge to even work is to use an Xbox One controller, and then map the right joystick as the pointer for star bits. I wanted to use a Wii Remote, but as far as I'm aware, the remote can only work in one game/program at a time. If there's some sort of workaround to this, I'd be super curious to know how that could be done. But anyway, if you saw the Mario 64/Mario 64 DS video, you'll know that I use a technique called text boxing to get around stages easier. The idea is to keep a text box loaded as long as possible while navigating on the other screen. This was pretty helpful considering Galaxy 2's first stage had a lot of pits I could have easily fallen into. Another trick I quickly learned is what I like to call planet running, which is a term I just made up, but let me explain. A lot of planets in both games are just small spheres with nothing on them. So if I'm in that situation with one of the games, I can just run around that planet endlessly while navigating on the other screen. It's very similar to cornering from when I played Mario 64/Mario 64 DS. Once I got to the end, I took out Piranha first and did some text boxing in Galaxy 1. The main reason is so I wouldn't get zapped when flipping the yellow panels to the blue ones. Something that's interesting to know is when you get back to both hubs, the coin counter and star bit counter are flipped in order of appearance. I'm not sure why that specifically was changed, but it was. Up next were the first stars in Good Egg and Yoshi Star Galaxy. This is where things really started to get trickier, as the levels are much more expansive. There's something really fascinating about playing through completely different levels at once, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I think it was when I initially started and was scared to simply jump. I needed to get this Luma and Good Egg before I could even move in Yoshi Star, since Yoshi Star wasn't a wraparound gravity section. And that's when I figured out I could use the warp stars in a similar manner to text boxing, which is probably going to be really important later down the line. When I unlocked Yoshi, the plan was to just planet run in Galaxy 1, but I wasn't paying attention to the Slurpees and I got slurpled on one of my lives. When I got to the Dino Piranha, I decided to not start the fight until I got to the end in Yoshi Star as well. That wasn't the brightest idea considering there were plenty of ledges to fall off in Galaxy 2, so I had to do the entire Piranha fight without jumping and also avoid moving up as much as possible. That ended up working wonderfully and was set from there. The next two stars were very different in length, leading to a few complications. The most annoying aspect being Yoshi's tongue. Since I'm not using the Wii Remote, I have to use a joystick to move the cursor, which means I have to use it to grab the spinies and throw them. While not impossible, it was very difficult to get used to, especially when I was trying to not die in Galaxy 1. The idea was to take out King Lekatu since I could planet run in Galaxy 1, and that took a lot longer than I wanted it to. Aiming the spinies back at him was so janky since the cursor works so differently. When I eventually took out King Lekatu, a bigger problem awaited, getting Galaxy 1 to the star as well. Since the ledge was so low around King Neptune's nest, running forward and jumping was extremely dangerous and didn't work very often. Some places had boxes, which was awesome since I could manipulate Galaxy 2 Mario to be in a different area, but that only worked in a few spots. Since both Galaxy games have virtually the same running speed, there wasn't much I could do to alter either Mario's direction. With some wall jumps and careful maneuvers, I got myself up this hill. I even tried crawling, but couldn't find anything that was remotely different. That is, until I started backflipping. The magic began when I backflipped without moving. See, Galaxy 1 Mario moves backwards a little bit, while Galaxy 2 Mario stays in place and just regrabs Yoshi. Finally, I found a strategy that would actually be practical for vertical movement. It took a while still to get there, but I got the stars. After that, I went to Honey Hive and back to Sky Station Galaxy. I was curious if I'd find any interesting strategies with Beam Mario, and I also knew some planets in Sky Station would be good for planet running. I found some uses for cornering finally, which, if you don't know, is just jamming yourself in a corner so the other character can get around easier. Once I got to this massive pond with Beam Mario, I kinda just chilled there since it was wide open and Galaxy 2 was very linear. When I got to the end of Yoshi Star, it took me a while to realize that I can use cornering right next to the star as it's got two massive gates for protection. Most of B Mario's climbing was up and right, which worked out perfectly, and that nabbed us the stars. Returning to Honey Hive and entering Spin Dig for the first time, I figured this would be a pretty good combo to work with. I've come to the realization now that circles are my mortal enemy. Galaxy 1 was once again being all scary with its low-hanging tree gates. I was working on Dig-a-Leg, and I fell in Galaxy 1, which was annoying since I had to play through the entire thing again. And it was terrifying since the star was just looming in the air in Galaxy 2, waiting to be grabbed. After that, though, I had this amazing idea of going to Flip Swap Galaxy. You know, the one with no guardrails anywhere? Yep, that didn't go over so well, so I had to switch back to Dig-a-Leg. This one required a lot of buffering between moves, like using the launch stars or digging through the dirt. After defeating Bugaboom and getting the silver stars, we were all set. With Right Side Down and Good A Galaxy, we got 2 more easy stars. Now that I've gotten all the stars in the big galaxies, all that's really left is Loop-de-Loop and Flip Switch. Loop-de-Loop is gonna be out of the question, so I tried Flip Switch and had no luck whatsoever. There are 0 guardrails or really any feasible way of making progress, so there's only one thing I could do now, and that's defeat the Luma and the Terrace. So Sweet Sweet and Fluffy Bluff Galaxy we go. It's not gonna be easy, but I finally turned on the camera, so there will at least be some walls to utilize. Once I got near the end of Sweet Sweet, I knew that the ending of Fluffy Bluff had a straightaway that required long jumping, so I might be able to make this work. It came down to this last segment in which the camera stopped working. The hardest part was just getting up this cliff while standing on this delicious cookie. And that's when I learned that if you walk extremely slow down, Mario will not fall down a ledge. This is exactly what I needed. I can space out Galaxy 1 Mario properly and finish this. Because I had Cloud Mario, I was able to focus mostly on the Sweet Sweet jumps, and if I missed a landing in Fluffy Bluff, I could just shake and save myself. God bless America, Cloud Mario. You are the savior and king. Now this ought to be cool. We get to take on 2 different boss fights at the same time. I got to Mega Lake early, which was perfect since I could do some planet running while focusing on Galaxy 2. My idea was to use text boxing, then trap myself near Mega Lake Star so I could focus on Gobblegut. And then out of insane luck, I defeated both bosses at the same time. I mean, virtually no lag in between. This was just crazy. But moving on to Space Junk and Puzzle Plank, most of the planets had wraparound gravity, so it wasn't particularly challenging. Going back into Space Junk and Hightail Falls Galaxy, I had to be very selective of which screen to pay attention to. This was one of those combos where I'd play like 20% of one game, then switch to the other, and just repeat over and over. There's not much to add with the next stars in Space Junk and Boulder Bowl, and the same with Battle Rock and Boulder Bowl. Battle Rock and Right Side Down are pretty simple, and funny enough, I ended up picking both trash games by accident. Another Battle Rock and Puzzle Plank stars were completed, and following that was Battle Rock and Cosmic Cove. I actually had a pretty smart strategy at the end for this one. For whatever reason, we're given 5 extra coins for the top Maniac fight, so when I was working on drilling to fill the water, I would damage boost off the electrical gate and then just get coins when I was down to 1 health. This strategy barely worked as I was left with 1 bar of health left and no backup coins. With Galaxy 2, I needed to first farm out 700 star bits, seeing as I was out of stars I could complete. Once I got into Bowser's Star Reactor in Honey Bloom Galaxy, I put Honey Bloom Mario into a hole and completed most of Galaxy 1's Bowser fight. Then I opted for the Secret Star in Honey Bloom since it was close by. Space Junk and Bowser's Lava Lair was pretty straightforward, especially since there were so many great opportunities for text boxing. Beach Bowl and Cloudy Court were pretty annoying since there were next to no walls or corners to use in Galaxy 2, but I was able to make it work since Cloudy Court is mostly in 2D. It just took a ton of findangling. Bubble Breeze and Tall Trunk at first seemed impossible, until I realized how much I can abuse text boxing. By continuing to talk to this toad, I was able to finish most of Tall Trunk without any problems. Then the last segment had a hole, so I went through Bubble Breeze until I got to the end, and then just kinda chilled in the bubble until the stars were close enough. Beach Bowl and Tall Trunk were a piece of cake, but Beach Bowl and Freezy Flake were obnoxious. I initially thought these levels wouldn't be possible, but I found the weirdest, most perfect quirk. When I got farther away from the star in Freezy Flake, the camera would kinda like loop back around, making it really easy to go forward and back. Moving sideways was also possible thanks to the gates, but it was a little bit riskier. So while this weird strategy took a lot of tries, I eventually got the stars this way. Ghostly and Freezy Flake were super simple, and the same for the 2 other stars in the same galaxies. But now comes the pain. Bowser Jr.'s Airship Armada and Honey Halls was a particularly nasty combo. The issue I kept running into was at the end, and that's because of the goddamn bulb berry. With this, I needed to complete the end of the level while constantly grabbing the bulbs, otherwise the stage would vanish and I would die. The only problem is it took me about 20 minutes to realize how to do this properly. I had to jam Galaxy 1 Mario all the way to the left just so I could stay tucked in the corner and finish this bulb mission. Like, for real, I was cringing so hard every time I died since the checkpoints in each stage are so far away. But Ghostly and Cosmic Cove wasn't too bad, and the same for Gusty Garden and Honey Bloom Galaxy. Gusty Garden and Fluffy Bluff were a little tricky since I had to complete the Chimp Challenge before doing anything else, and Fluffy Bluff is fairly easy to fall off if you aren't careful, but I was able to finish it regardless. Gusty Garden and Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet were extremely annoying until I found a brand new exploit. Most of Fearsome Fleet is linear, so I had to basically complete all of it before moving to Gusty Garden. The issue is that I can't move the camera, and going forward always resulted in killing me. So after a lot of trial and error, and also my controller breaking from just using it, thanks controller, I learned how to keep Galaxy 2 Mario still. If I jumped on an enemy, took a launch star, or just stayed in the air longer in Galaxy 1, I could turn on the close-up cam in Galaxy 2, which would freeze me in place. That alone gave me free reign to move around until I had to jump again. So very carefully, I would jump on Goombas, or hit switches in order to activate the close-up cam for Galaxy 2, and that actually worked and nabbed me the stars. Freeze Flame and Supermassive was another star that took a lot of tries because both levels have a lot of linear segments. I ended up taking out Baron Burr and cornered until I could finish Supermassive, but even then it took a lot of attempts. And then I did the same combination of levels, but with smoother star selections. Freeze Flame and Flipsville didn't seem like it was going to be doable at first, but since I was flipping through the panels in Galaxy 2, that gave me just enough time to abuse the close-up camera trick in Galaxy 1. So after taking out Glamdozer, I could safely finish Freeze Flame and nab another set of stars. Dusty Dune and Flipsville were looking like another impossible combination, until I realized I could use the tornadoes to my advantage. Whenever I needed to use the spin drill, I would just ground pound and throw myself back in the tornado. When I got to the end of Flipsville, I had plenty of space to finish Dusty Dune and was set from there. Dusty Dune and Honey Hop weren't too bad since both levels are fairly open, and Dusty Dune and Chompworks required a lot of the close-up cam trick to be possible. And with the same combination of galaxies, I grabbed another set of easy stars. With Bowser's Dark Matter and Starshine Beach Galaxy, I made a pretty fatal error. So I completed the Bowser Star first, only for there to be no guardrails nearby. So slowly, very slowly, had to use the close-up cam trick to finish the Starshine Beach. I could feel the life draining out of me with this star. It took goddamn forever to finish. Buoy Base in Starshine Beach Galaxy wasn't nearly as bad, thankfully, and thanks to B Mario and Gold Leaf Galaxy, I was able to mostly use close-up cam and Sweet Mystery due to the longer-lasting jump, which is really good considering Sweet Mystery would have been impossible otherwise. Next was Luigi on the Roof and Honey Halls, which was pretty easy, and same with Gold Leaf Galaxy and Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. A lot of these stars are still time-consuming, but I'm using a lot of the same strategies over and over, so it's not worth going into a lot of detail. Gold Leaf and Space Storm were easy enough, and same with Sea Slide and Space Storm, as well as Sea Slide and Upside Dizzy. Toy Time and Upside Dizzy were interesting because I accidentally picked Luigi in Galaxy 2, so that was a, nice change of pace, question mark? It wasn't really as different as I was expecting it to be. Toy Time and Boo Moon Galaxy were another set of annoying stars, but the close-up cam helped in most areas. For Seaside and Boo Moon, I decided on the silver stars first, and as I was working on Boo Moon, I fell off since I wasn't looking and got a game over, and had to redo the silver stars. I wasn't even upset about this, just disappointed that it happened at all. After another attempt of working on Boo Moon first, I was able to nab the stars. Now, for the rest of this game, I used the exact same strategies over and over. So I'm gonna do something that I normally don't do, and that's skipping to the final boss where things get really spicy again. The main reason for that is because both of these final levels are long and completely linear in nature, so the only option I had was looking for openings where I could use the close-up cam trick, and just try to abuse it as much as I can. This only worked so much, so thank freaking God I discovered this Luma that I could talk to over and over about fighting to save my special one, as if Peach's name is like Voldemort's. My initial plan was getting to the Galaxy 1 fight, then just trying to survive while normally playing through Galaxy 2's level. It seemed like a good idea since I could could Planet Run, but it just wasn't working out as there's way too much crap going on in the boss fight. So instead, I painstakingly finished Galaxy 2 and just abused the close-up cam right before the Galaxy 1 fight. It was extremely tedious, but it was working at least. When I got to the end with both games, I figured I'd get a head start on Galaxy 2 Bowser since that fight lasted a bit longer. But here's the thing. I've put like 40 hours into this game the past 3 to 4 days, and at this point of playing, I was kind of over it. My play was getting so sloppy to the point that I had to literally stop for the day and just try again the next day. There were no available tricks or shortcuts with this boss fight. I just had to somehow do it. No ifs, cans, or buts. So I woke up the next day, cracked my fingers, and was ready to finish the fight. The only leeway I gave myself was some text boxing in Galaxy 1 to get a few hits in for Galaxy 2 Bowser, but that was it. I needed to take out both Bowsers within a few seconds of each other. There was no way around it. Now, how the hell was this going to be possible? I'll tell ya, literally darting my eyes between each screen every few seconds. Yep, I'm not kidding. Since the Bowser fights really aren't that difficult, if I was just paying enough attention to the fire and lasers, I was able to avoid some of the attacks, or dare I say, enough of the attacks. And I tried that for a while, but I just kept dying in one or both games. So I said screw it and utilized close-up cam in Galaxy 1, thinking maybe, just maybe, getting more of a head start in Galaxy 2 would help. And it was actually a great idea because there's a brief moment where you don't fight Bowser in Galaxy 2, which means I can utilize text boxing. Since I didn't want to scroll the text, I purposefully damage boosted through lasers right next to coins so I could heal and stay in the text box until the very end of Galaxy 1. And finally, one more hit for Galaxy 1 and a few ground pounds in Galaxy 2. And then it happened. Galaxy 2 Bowser got socked in the goddamn mouth, and 4 seconds later, so did Galaxy 1 Bowser, and just like that, it is indeed possible to beat Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 at the exact same time. Okay, so this is one of those videos that I wish someone else made. Because look, I love this idea to death, but there were a lot of moments when it was so insanely draining and just difficult to play. I'll probably do a few more in this same time kind of style, but for now, I'm going to change it up for the next challenge video. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day. I'll see you next time.